Hey there, I'm Lori Petro, founder of Teach Through Love, and I am so grateful that you have decided to join me for this video series. You are giving yourself, your kids, and our world a huge gift by choosing to be a part of the shift away from punitive discipline. The purpose of this video is to show you the 5 steps every parent needs to take to create long-lasting changes in behavior. So if you have a tough time letting go of punitive consequences, are stuck alternating between cycles of compassion and control, or swear your kids just won't listen unless you yell or threaten, then I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to change those negative patterns and shift those behaviors for good. And I'm going to show you how to do it without using blame, shame, judgment, guilt, or fear. You might be wondering if this video series is right for your family. I want to assure you that this training is for parents of kids of all ages. Whether you're a new parent just learning to understand behavior and soothe the big emotions of your little ones, or whether you've been on this road for years and you want to build a closer, more connected relationship with your teen. The strategies and steps you'll learn in this series will open you up to peaceful solutions that will not only change behavior, but they'll change you. How you view behavior, how you respond to your kids, and how much compassion you have to offer up to others. That's the key, right there, compassion. Empathy and compassion are skills that our kids need to live in a world that seems to be changing faster than ever before. Instant access to information, modern technology, and the world of social media have given us a worldwide community to learn from and access parenting ideas and tips that were previously unheard of. Many of us are breaking away from tradition and honoring our intuitive selves by doing things differently with our kids than how we may have been raised. So it's important to recognize that the kind of support we need has also changed, and the environment our children are growing up in is drastically different than the one we experienced. Social media dangers, online bullying, more intense academic pressures, our kids are learning to manage this 24/7 stimulation and constant scrutiny from their peers and others in a way never experienced by any other previous generation. And as parents, the only way we can protect and serve our children's highest good and help them develop a strong moral character without damaging our influence is to implement the information I'm going to share with you over the course of this video series. I'm going to outline for you the path to becoming a more confident, compassionate, and influential parent, the kind that I know you want to be. Because when you feel confident and capable, kindness is easy, and those are invaluable life skills to pass on to your children. When you become conscious of your words and actions, you change the way you speak and interact with others, and in turn, you create a better, more compassionate world for our children. Now, before we go any further, I want to be really clear that this series is not going to tell you how to make your children do what you want when you want them to do it. But I will show you how to see your children as the responsible, independent people they will one day become, take care of yourself in a way that will empower you to take care of your family instead of draining you, put the relationship first ahead of discipline because that's where the behavioral change really happens, unlock the mystery of your own behavior by investigating your childhood and taking back your power, and finally build a support network that you can rely on when times get tough. Because times do get tough. Conscious parenting is not about removing the conflict, but learning to decode the messages that will lead you to a greater understanding of your child and the ability to communicate in a way that strengthens your influence and guides your child to follow your example. Following our example. This is where it can get dicey. If you are like most parents, conflict can sometimes get so intense that anger is the only one running the show. And you don't want to yell, but you just can't seem to stop. Or you've tried to move away from punishment, but the truth is nothing ever changes unless you take just the right tone or threaten to take, or maybe you've committed to peaceful parenting, but you feel stuck, not knowing what to say or do when the kids just won't listen. That's where I come in. When you're done listening to all the experts and finished reading all the books, I'm here to help you make sense of the ideas behind conscious parenting and then put concrete tools and actions into place. If you're new to my work, you may be wondering, who is this chick and what makes her so qualified to tell me how to parent my child? First, let me say, I don't want to tell anyone how to parent their children. I only want to show you how to be the kind of parent your children need you to be, and the kind of parent that many of us wished we had. I don't like to call myself a parenting expert. I mean, who is qualified to be an expert on something that is so unique to each individual and ever-changing? Conscious parenting requires you not to rely on books and expert advice that may or may not work for your child, but to use your intuition and make the decisions that are right for your family. Now, I'm a parent and an educator, but my most important credential is not in my degree or certifications, but in my experience as the kid no one understood. Highly sensitive, always reactive, always questioning the status quo, socially awkward, and naturally resisting the perspective of because this is the way it's always been done. I grew up perpetually punished and in constant conflict with my parents and siblings. There was no punishment strict enough to help me learn to control my behavior, and believe me, they tried. My parents had good intentions, but their intentions did not translate into real sustainable behavioral change. So I had a tough time learning to live in the world. The negativity, the criticism, the harsh words, the family-induced guilt, and the punitive shame-based systems of discipline and education, they made me want to run away and hide forever. I was so sensitive that I could accurately perceive the thoughts and feelings of others to the point of becoming physically ill, but I could not communicate my thoughts and feelings in ways that made sense to others. You see, I was one of those kids, the kid who doesn't seem to fit in, who talks back, who is disorganized and anxious, the kid who has a hard time making and keeping friends or even uttering hello to people. That kid who is difficult to discipline and hard to understand. I was every parent's worst nightmare. I had a serious attitude problem, and challenging authority was something that I felt instinctively drawn to from an early age. This was not because I was a bad kid, but because I felt deeply misunderstood, disrespected, and disconnected from the adults in my life. By the time I was in 5th grade, I had written my first suicide note. By 9th grade, I had been suspended at least twice for fighting, and in my sophomore year at college, I ended up in the ER after I tried to swallow a bottle of muscle relaxers. But the pain that I felt as a child was well hidden behind the white picket fence illusion of our happy suburban home. So it is my experience as a child which has led me here today to show you what your kids want you to know. Many of you may have grown up with this because I said so mentality, but with nothing more than criticism, judgment, or disapproval to back it up. I want to give you the tools to do for your children what your parents, because of a lack of support and knowledge, could not do for you. I want to empower you to put down the parenting books and look inside for the answers, because that's where they are. The intuitive you is the only person I want you to learn to rely on. We are going to lay a new foundation for parenting our children. Now, you'll see that I talk a lot about awareness, about being conscious of our actions, but not striving for perfection, because there is no destination of perfect parenting. This is a journey that's meant to be enjoyed. You are meant to grow alongside of your children. I have grown so much because of my daughter. She was a kid who only had 2 speeds. She was either happily engaged with her world or screaming because of it. In learning to appreciate my daughter's sensitivity, I have given myself permission to feel, to be, and to live the life that is true to my soul, the life that teaches me what I need to learn. There is no perfect parenting, and there are no perfect answers. Every situation is going to be unique, and what I want you to take away from this video is the understanding that there is so much more to parenting than just disciplining your kids. It's about creating strong, satisfying, and mutually beneficial relationships with them, because your influence is in the relationship. Let me ask you something. What's getting in the way of peace in your home? As parents, we all want respectful children, siblings who get along, happy homes, peaceful interactions. So what's preventing your children from behaving in the ways that you had hoped for, or at least in the ways that make the most sense to you? As I mentioned, I wasn't born into a conscious home. Initially, I didn't have the skills to remain compassionate and empathetic with my child when she was being anything but. I had to learn what was preventing me from accessing my reserve of tolerance and understanding. That's what I want for you. By becoming aware of your obstacles, knowing what stands in the way of you and a respectful, enjoyable relationship with your children, you can begin to implement the kinds of changes that don't just stop behavior in the moment, but make a difference in the long-term happiness of your family. So before we get into the 5 steps every parent needs to take to create long-lasting changes in behavior, I want to first clarify what I mean by conscious parenting for anyone new here or who might be wondering how you can still be conscious but still set limits and not be permissive. Conscious parenting is not a set of rules for you to follow, but a set of beliefs about what your children need to develop and thrive, mentally, physically, and emotionally. I call this set of beliefs the ABCs of conscious parenting. These are the 3 most important concepts in the conscious parenting philosophy, the 3 things your children need you to understand and embody. And they are attachment, brain science, and conscious communication. So let's break it down. The A is for attachment. Attachment represents the relationship you create with your children. All children need to attach to a safe and emotionally available adult in order for their brains to grow. When your children feel safe and loved, they are not only more likely to let you lead and listen to what you have to say, but you actually shape the development of crucial neural structures in their brains, structures that will one day allow them to be regulated, thoughtful, and responsible members of society. When you put the relationship first, you can attune to the emotions and needs of your children, whether they are difficult or joyous, and your actions will not be swayed by the judgment of the behavior. Your focus remains on the connection you have with your kids and helping them learn to manage difficult circumstances. Through this connected relationship and by nurturing the bond that you have, you create a securely attached child who feels understood and heard, even when you have to set limits or boundaries. And this lays a foundation for successful, sustainable discipline that nurtures your child's development and doesn't compromise their dignity or weaken your influence. Which brings me to the B. The B stands for brain science. Oh, the brain, so immature, so impressionable. It is critical that you have a basic understanding of your child's development if you're going to successfully reframe your view of behavior. Because what your children can do without your help is often very different than the expectations that you may have. Their chronological age may be very different than their emotional age, and what skills they have available to them depends on a variety of factors, and the most important factor being your child's unique developmental timeline. So stop going on Facebook or looking to your friends' children and comparing them. They are all different. Understanding how the brain develops, combined with the knowledge of what your child needs and their individual temperament, is essential for setting appropriate limits and maintaining healthy boundaries. And finally, the C stands for conscious communication. This is your tool set for communicating respectfully and for learning how to listen deeply. Communicating is not only about what we say, but also about how we listen to others. When you learn to remove judgment, criticism, and defensiveness from your language, verbal and nonverbal, the level of cooperation in your home will greatly increase. And the most exciting benefit of being a conscious parent, not only will you adjust and maybe re-examine your responses and expectations of your child, but the changes you make will have a positive impact on all of the relationships in your life. Yes, it's true. The changes this video series will bring are not restricted to your children because it's not just about training or disciplining kids. It's about so much more than that. It's about fully knowing the power of your relationship and having an awareness of your feelings and needs to create lasting peace in your life. I've had many clients tell me, and you can ask them about their experiences in our Facebook group. They tell me that after taking my classes, the relationships that they have with their partners and other people in their lives significantly change for the better. And that's because this is not just about parenting, but about changing the way that you see and respond to life and empowering you with the tools to navigate all of your relationships. So now, let's talk about the 5 steps every parent needs to take to create long-lasting changes in behavior. Now, before I start, let me share that I fully embrace the idea that we teach what we most need to learn. I am not sharing with you some magic fix or the secrets to the fountain of peaceful parenting. What I'm going to outline for you are the exact steps that I took to become a more conscious and compassionate parent. Step number 1, I want you to make a decision right now about the kind of child you want to raise. Sometimes, in the heat of the moment, being right takes precedence over building skills and helping children navigate obstacles. Our anger or impatience delivers a message that our children lack skills and cause our frustration. Without quality feedback, our discipline becomes short-sighted and short-term. A compliant child does not grow into an independent adult. An unheard child does not grow into an adult who values his own judgment. So while we may want kids to comply without talking back or listen without resisting, this week I want you to take a deeper look at the child you really want to raise. What skills and values are you hoping to impart? Long-term behavioral change requires you to look at the potential of your children and not solely the stages that they may be learning through. If you want to raise confident, composed, independent, and respectful children, ask yourself, is this the person that I'm modeling for my child in this moment? If your kids don't keep you real, focusing on your long-term goals will. The second step I need you to take is to commit to strengthening your relationship during conflict. Now, what I mean by that is focus on the connection and love that you have for your child rather than your emotional reaction to the behavior that you see. This will help you see the problem, but not see your child as the problem. You'll find that the majority of challenges that you have with your kids will decrease simply by nurturing the bond between you. Become aware and involved with your child's emotional world. Instead of demanding answers or judging negative behavior, investigate with curiosity and state the good that you know is in your child. When your little ones lash out at one another, say something like, "I know she's frustrating you right now. You're having a hard time controlling your body." I know you don't mean to hurt anyone, so I'm going to help you. Or to an older child, I wasn't expecting this. It's not like you to ignore your responsibilities, but I want to help you because I know that you care about our family. When kids feel like you care about them and not just their behavior, they want to cooperate because being in a relationship with you feels good to them. The third step I want you to take is to take good care of yourself. The relationship with yourself matters as much as the one that you have with your child. My mom always said, you can't love anyone unless you first love yourself. Oh, how right she was. As parents, we can spend so much time and effort giving to and loving others, but when we deny ourselves the same care that we afford to others, our love becomes laced with resentment and obligation. How you treat yourself and think about yourself and speak to yourself, even in the privacy of your own head, influences the relationship that you have with your child and influences how they grow to respect themselves. If you have trouble setting compassionate boundaries or saying no to others without feeling guilty or getting angry, then it's likely that your self-care is lacking. So I want you to do one thing this week that makes you feel good about yourself. One caring, nurturing action that inspires you to be more gentle with yourself. When you have compassion for yourself, it's much easier to have compassion for your children. The next most important step, and I can't stress this enough, is to know your story. Your childhood experiences have a lot to say about what kind of experience you're having as a parent. I cannot tell you how many parents come to me triggered by an age-typical reaction in their children or overly worried about a particular behavior, who come to find out that it was an old childhood memory of theirs that was driving the emotional reactivity and controlling their perceptions. It was because they were never allowed to express that very same emotion or had a frightening experience, and now their minds locked down in response to a threat which occurred long ago. They end up parenting without their full conscious control. Your personal history not only informs your behavior, but how well you can meet your needs, express yourself, and tolerate the emotions of your children. Look at how you were parented to uncover the root causes of your reactivity. Nurture that part of you that was not given the emotional space that you needed back then. And finally, the last step that you need to take to create long-lasting changes in behavior is to surround yourself with support. It may be hard not to resort to punitive methods if that's what you were raised with, or if that's what the community surrounding you supports. You can't ignore the impact that it has on your ability to stay compassionate with your own children, but you don't have to be ruled by it. Find a community who will uplift and inspire you to be a better parent, not judge you and outline all the ways that you're ruining your kids. You deserve to be treated as kindly as I want you to treat your children. There's going to be some healing and emotional processing on this journey, all of which will expand your perspective, but may also bring up some raw and ugly emotions that you need to feel if you want to heal those parts that interrupt your peace and prevent you from creating the kind of relationship with your children that you really want. When you feel like someone has your back, like someone understands what you're going through, and that someone doesn't try to dismiss or negate your experience, but simply stands by you and says, I hear you and I understand you, then you're going to be able to see new peaceful solutions that you never noticed before. My online community is one place to find that support 24/7. The Teach Through Love Chaos to Cooperation Facebook group has thousands of conscious parents waiting to support you. But if online sharing isn't your cup of tea, look for local groups or meetups that gather regularly so that you have a place to unload the stress of parenting. If you're willing to make some important changes in how you see yourself, your children, and their behavior, I promise you, you will not only see behavioral change, but you'll feel a whole heck of a lot more confident about using emotionally intelligent, non-punitive discipline. So make sure you tune in for the next video, because this is where I'm going to show you how to take that blame, shame, judgment, and guilt that traps our communication and locks our children into defiance and turn them into requests that get heard. I can give you all the tools and ideas in the world, but the results are in the action. The 5 steps I outlined here today are going to start you on a path of learning to regulate your emotions, meet your needs, and give yourself the compassion that will allow you to respond to your children in healthy ways, no matter what their age or stage. Many times your challenges are going to be developmental. Sometimes it's just the age, the phase, or the stage, and moving through those times means that you're at peace with discomfort. It means that you're willing to sit with your kids in their pain and negativity and not fix it for them. Because when you do that, they develop resilience. You see, they need to experience that inner struggle, but they need to do it alongside a non-judgmental, compassionate adult. I want to give you something more than just 1, 2, 3 magic fixes and timeouts. I want you to feel empowered and influential, and not beholden to the tricks or reward systems which claim to create self-discipline and cooperation, but really they only create short-term compliance with long-term risks. So this week, start slow. I've included a handout of exercises you can download and use to begin implementing each of the 5 steps. These activities will help you shift your focus from naming the behaviors that you want to be changed and instead asking, what skills do I want my child to learn in this moment? What is my goal? The activities will also help you start to recognize what your child needs from you. You'll see your relationship as a bridge to understanding those negative behaviors, and you'll learn to attune to your child's emotional state without compromising your leadership. But you can't do any of that until you tend to your own emotional needs. So there's an exercise to show you how you can do one thing in support of loving you more this week. And then you can do some personal investigation and find out why you get so triggered when your child ignores you or when your child pouts. What's the story that's making those behaviors seem so awful and uncontrollable? Commit to familiarizing yourself with any childhood memories that may be unconsciously fueling your reactive patterns. We'll be here to support you through it all, so join me in our Facebook group and share your stories of struggle and strength, because we learn best when we come together and support one another. And next time, I'm going to show you how to make requests that get heard, because I know every one of us wishes we could get just a wee bit more cooperation from our kids. And if you stumbled upon this video by accident, be sure to follow the links at the end so that you don't miss the next video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments and share how it's going in your family. And if you know someone who might benefit from this information, please go ahead and share this video, because when you share the love spreads. I will see you next time, and until then, please remember, it's about consciousness, not perfection.